get settled, I'm going to remind you all that there are question cards on the table. So this is a conversation not just with CT and Tricia, but also one that you can and should and I hope will participate in. And so I'm going to come around at the end of the conversation and collect those cards, so please be thinking about your questions.
Good evening. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Christina, for the amazing work that you do and your team does. I am blown away with the amount of friends that are here tonight, and many of which who, when I called or people on the committee called, said, "What's Alabama Possible?" And when we told them the mission, no wonder they're my friends. They care so much about this community and they wanted to help. And I really appreciate that. Thank you to all the folks that have been supportive of this organization for so many years. When Wendy called me about participating this evening, and I have to confess, CT and I have never attended this event, so we had to ask Christina, what is success? And she said, it's if the people leave tonight with just an idea, something they can take back to their organizations, to their lives, to their management teams, that could make a difference in their mission. So, we've loved getting to know CT through this process, and that's our goal, that we share our journeys so that perhaps it could influence your journey toward the mission of Alabama Possible. Because the problem of poverty in our state is probably one of the biggest issues of moving Alabama forward. And it's actually why my son, who, thank you for mentioning the kids, and my wonderful husband, Troy, he's here tonight. He's in 9th grade, and these are generational issues that I believe we can solve before, he's my age. If we have great folks that are working on these issues and that really come together, it's so complex and there's so many different pieces to it. And when Wendy called about this, I said, what do I know about poverty? What can I share? And I realized I personally, as a business leader, have so much conviction about the responsibility that I have to our lower income associates and the programming that we have built around that, and the obligation that we have. And so what I would like to share tonight is what I feel is the obligation of business leaders to be a part of this fight that we have in the state and the tactics that we're using at Milo's to combat that. But to really kind of rewind, I think it's important if we recognize that what we're going to be talking about is business leaders' obligation and duty, that I have to rewind and share with y'all kind of how I got where I am. And so I run our family business. My granddad was Milo. It's a 3rd generation family business. And when my first touch point with business was working in the family business, we had this very small business and fast food restaurants, and I worked in the plant. My parents started selling tea in the grocery store in the late 80s, and it was about family. It was about taking care of the people you love. So I worked in the plant during the summers, and I realized quickly that I did not want to work in the plant. It was quite hot. And it was not, washing buckets with my grandmother and my grandfather was not what I wanted to do. So I went to college, went to law school, never thought I'd join the family business. But the ethos of business for me was about, it's to take care of the people that you love. And so ended up joining the family business when I was in my late 20s. And when I worked there in high school, we probably had 12 people that worked there. Okay, half of them were probably my family. And I came back in my late 20s, and we had 23 employees. Probably 4th of them were still my family, right? And really learned the business. I started running the business 7 years ago, and my vision was really different from my father's as well as my grandfather's, which was I was really interested in building a national brand and really professionalizing the organization and taking things to the next level. And I really grasped with the fact of how to reconcile this notion of everybody being in the organization part of the family. How can we take care of all these people? And you have to realize we have a very diverse workforce, and I mean, from a gender or racial standpoint, but I mean from an educational background. We're a manufacturer. So we have, people with law degrees and MBAs, but we also have a lot of folks that don't have high school diplomas. and figuring out how to engage those associates and move forward, to really build those people up. It was antithetical to the process that I was going through trying to professionalize the organization. My father felt very strongly that we ought to pay for everybody's 100%, family health care. Well, what does that do to my bottom line? And so as I went through that process, I learned, and I think the thought leaders in business really realized when you could read any, business journal today, and the notion of real leadership is that you put people before profits. And when you do that, you actually make a stronger organization. And I believe that we are winning because our products taste the best in the market, but we're winning without having a winning company that does put people first. You don't have the engaged organization that is going to come in every day and work for you and take things to the next level. So I think I'm going to share later on. I think I've been talking a lot, and I bet a lot of y'all are here to hear CT, whose story is absolutely remarkable. So I want to hear what CT has to say.
I'm enthralled. That's a tough act to follow. Well, thank you, Tricia, and thank you everyone for coming. I feel like we're going to be talking about a lot of things that hopefully will be helpful, but I also feel like we're preaching to the choir. I'm looking out at the audience, and I know so many people here, and I know how involved everyone here is, and it's humbling to me to be here, and that you guys want to hear us. I know you're here to hear Tricia, not me, but you must really be desperate for something to do if you want to listen to me. But thank you for being here. It really is an honor, and it's an honor to be here because of this organization. I've enjoyed so much getting to know more about it. It's just right down the middle of the fairway for the kinds of things that we are interested in. I think this organization is and can do more to move the needle and really help those who are neediest among us improve their lives. And that's just a really beautiful thing. And I really applaud Alabama Possible, and it's great to be here tonight on their behalf. I guess in terms of our journey, I'll go way back when I was growing up in Alabama. I grew up in Montgomery, and I was very fortunate to have be surrounded by a wonderful family. We had a family business as well, and I had a really amazing father. I will mention his name because he had a lot of things to do in Birmingham. He was on the BBVA Compass Board, for those of you who remember all those days. And he played a big role there, and was very proud of that. So his name's Fitzpatrick. My son is named after him. He's here tonight. And anyway, he was a wonderful man, and we talked about religion, football, Alabama football. Sorry for all the
sort of the same, yeah.
It's very simple. And business. And he was very well respected and loved by everyone that he worked with, and he kind of inspired me. And I got involved at a very early age. I had a really great gift in that, despite all my shortcomings, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to go into business. I knew I wanted to get into investments, and I figured out value investing when I was in college, and just started learning everything I could about it. And that passion led me to Wall Street in the mid-'80s. It was a great time to be getting going as a young person in those days, and ultimately to get an MBA at Vanderbilt after graduating from the University of Alabama, and going to work for a company that became quite well known, and we had a lot of success. It was called Southeastern Asset Management, Longley Partners. And I got there at a time when the company had split. Right before I got there, half the company walked out the door and went someplace else, and they were trying to rebuild their ranks. And I was just better lucky than smart. That's my motto. I was very fortunate to be able to become a partner in that company and be with it as it prospered and grew. And in 2007. I'm a value investor, and we were having a really hard time finding things that looked attractive to us in terms of valuation. And I was an owner of the company, and I really got to a point where I really wanted to try to take what we were doing, what I was doing personally as an investor, to a different level, if you will. And my wife, Kelly, who is sitting right here, is such an amazing person, was supportive of that. Things were going really well, everything's going great. Let's quit your job and go start a new company from scratch. It was kind of a crazy idea, and she was super supportive. And the one caveat she had is that I want to do it in Birmingham. And I was like, I love Birmingham. That's great. Let's do it in Birmingham. And we moved to Birmingham, and it was the best decision we ever made. Our children have thrived here. We've met so many amazing friends. We had a lot of friends before we moved here, but now that we are here, we've met so many more wonderful friends. This community is an amazing place. It embraced us. It embraced and helped our company. Everyone was so supportive. They wanted us to succeed, and it created an environment that made it really, I won't say easy, but it was so supportive of us growing our business and then attracting other great people to join our company and be part of the Birmingham community. And I don't think we would be nearly as successful if we'd not moved to Birmingham. So I want to thank you, all of you, for doing what you've done. I wouldn't be sitting here tonight if we had moved someplace else, I'm sure. So I think we're here to talk about leadership, and we're here to talk about what we can do as leaders to help the community. I think that we need to explore how we can do a better job, but I think we also need to realize this is one heck of a great place, and it's getting better. When we moved here 13 years ago now, we loved it, and it is so much better today than it was when we moved here. And there are not a lot of places you can say that about. So we're doing a lot of things right. I'd like to see Birmingham and Alabama, of course, the entire state, but maybe led by Birmingham, go to the next level. I mean, I hear about Nashville, how great Nashville's doing. Nashville's a lovely place. I went to graduate school there. It's nice. I've been back. It's super. I think we're so much cooler than they are. So, not that they're bad. They're great. But I just think there are a lot of things that we can do that we're on the cusp of doing that can really move the needle. So now I've been talking way too long, and I want to go back to you, Tricia, and ask you. You mentioned some things kind of at a higher level that you're doing to help your business, and you're talking about putting people first before profits. And I think that's something, we'll go back to me later maybe, but I think that's a really interesting concept. I was hoping maybe you could tell us a little bit about how you are doing that, some of the specific things you're doing, and how is it working out for you?
Well, it's working out really well.
Oh, by the way, before you
yes. How is it working out for me?
I want to take a moment, because I'm thirsty now, and I just want to try this delicious tea.
Yeah. Good?
There's a reason this is the #1 refrigerated tea in America.
That's right. Thank you very much. Having a significant portion of our workforce that is not college educated poses challenges, because those individuals come to us with the exact struggles that the population that Alabama Hospital serves. A lack of financial planning. These individuals are not learning what my children are learning at home. Maybe it's even wellness. A lot of these people live in food deserts. It is a misalignment with sustainability and the things that go on there. So as we've grown our culture programming and looked at how we can truly help these individuals grow, because every leader in this room knows that we're facing, and it is going to continue, a very, very low unemployment rate. And so we all have to figure out how to take individuals that perhaps we might not have employed before and train them up. And so I can only really speak to it from the standpoint of a business that's bringing in these individuals. I know there's a number of leaders in the room that are really working with our educational institutions. My friend Liz today was mentioning Build Up, run by Mark, which is such an interesting and innovative concept. And I know JW's doing a lot with the Birmingham Ed Foundation. I can only talk about the workforce that I see and the commitments that we've made and the changes that it has had in their lives. And these are individuals that did not receive services like that in secondary education. They did not have access to the programming from Alabama Possible. And so we have committed to paying a living wage of $15.15 an hour. We're paying 100% employer-paid health care. Through our wellness programming, we're giving them access to gyms and smoking cessation and things that really will make them healthier, they make them better employees, and that will make them serve the investors better, but it also makes them better stewards within the organization. So I think one of the most profound things that we are on the journey to truly figure out is, and that's not just with our hourly associates, but it's with our corporate associates as well, and it's building leaders. And you see it so much more with the associates that are hourly, but these individuals, if we bring them in and we put them in our programming and our training to truly build them into individual leaders, they are taking those things back to their own families, their own communities. They're becoming, the coach of their kids' soccer team or whatever it is, but giving them the support and those leadership skills that are needed to succeed in modern life. And I guess kind of to rewind, I talked a little bit about my dad earlier and working in the plant and all that. The ethos that we have always had in our family, and it's certainly what we're perpetuating with our own children, is that we will support you, but we're not going to give you things. You have to earn what you get. And the things that we were doing with our own organization, these people have to earn it. But we will support them all along the way. It isn't a gimme. It isn't that we're going to turn our head because, if you not hold people accountable. But for the individuals that want to learn and grow, there is an opportunity. And when you have that type of culture, the people within your organization will grow, and they will, love the Milos. And they will be brand ambassadors for you, and they will go out to the community, and they will continue to help you as you move forward. Now I've talked a lot. I'm gonna have to pass it back to you, CT, because Virginia alluded to so many things that you and Kelly invest in the community. And when we had the opportunity to kind of talk previously about this night, I was absolutely blown away with Bridge Builders, which is an organization that you and your foundation founded. Yeah, it is remarkable. And those that don't know in the room know about it. Would you please share with us what your vision was for it, how it's grown, what impact it's had?
Sure. Well, thank you for that opportunity. Sure. We come at this as an investor. We want to earn a return on our charitable investment. And, we feel like, and I thought the prayer tonight was very beautiful. Whatever your religious affiliations are, whatever name you use for God, we view everything we have as a gift. I mean, we're intelligent enough to be able to stand up here and not drool. So, we've got some, the baseline covered. But we've been given so many gifts and so many opportunities, and, we didn't create them. Where do they come from? They came from someplace other than me. And so we feel like we've been given all these gifts, and we've tried to use them productively to create things. And, we feel like we have an obligation to, in terms of gratitude, to not only give something back, but to make sure that there's a return on whatever name you use for God. I'm going to say God's money. I work so hard to earn a return on our money, and actually I know we have a lot of investors in this room, and we're hopefully, you're pleased too. But, how can we not be just as careful with God's money? So we kind of approach it that way. So we look for things where you can really have an impact and really move the needle, and, we're a positive outcome, measurable outcome results. So before we ever even moved to Birmingham, we asked a friend of ours who was in the nonprofit world to tell us what could really move the needle, starting in Montgomery, my hometown, but then hopefully throughout all of Alabama. And she came back with a program called Bridge Builders, which originated in Memphis. And it was mostly started by the Wilson family. If I know the Wilsons, a lot of people here might know them. They've got big ties to Alabama. Of all the programs, she came back to that, which we were familiar with because of Memphis, and we supported there. So we established Bridge Builders in Montgomery, and among its champions is Carol Butler, who's in the room, who is now works for the Goodrich Foundation, and they do such fantastic work. But the concept is this. The idea is that you build bridges between communities that are separated from each other. And you find things you have in common for the common good to help the community. And you're literally looking for people that kind of hate each other, you know? I mean, like in this world where, you know, political rhetoric has gotten so heated and there's so much of us versus them instead of working together, you try to bring people together who you would think on the surface have nothing in common, socioeconomically, politically, neighborhoods, you name it. But then you find out, well, you know what? We all want better schools. We all want safer streets. We all want a cleaner environment. We all want opportunities. You know, we all want a better life for our children. And you start with the kids, and the kids start working together, and you pull kids from all the different schools, all the different, you know, public, private, failing schools that are, you know, nationally ranked. You put them together, and they start trying to work together to solve problems. And the really cool thing about it is that they bring their parents in. And if you can get the kids together, the one thing that you can get parents who might not like each other so much together are the kids, their own children. And so all of a sudden, you've got the entire community working together, and it's kind of like, you know, there's so many great organizations in this community, Kiwanis, and now we've got this cool light show at Vulcan, Rotary, and we have Rotary Trail, all these things where you're creating the foundation for those future communities. And so it's been a big success in Montgomery, spread out all over the mid-region of Alabama, and we hope one day that it'll be a statewide thing. But we're very pleased with the return on investment from that organization. So thank you so much for asking about it.
Thank you for investing in it and having the vision to see what impact it could have, because I totally agree.
Thanks. Well, so I want to go back to work a little bit, because the things you're doing at your business are so interesting, and I think it's just it has an impact beyond your business, as you say, into the community, and I think that's what we're all trying to do. So my question to you, in terms of what we can learn, I know that recently you have, with your national expansion, have gone outside of the state, and you have gone through the process, site selection, picked a location. And what I would like to ask you, one of the things I personally would love to see in Alabama, why was Amazon looking at Nashville and not Birmingham? I mean, I know they looked at us, but why weren't we more competitive there? I'd love to see more people like that looking at us. And my question is, when you were doing your site selection work, did you learn anything that we can apply here that can help us raise our game to attract other businesses into our area?
Absolutely. So just to add a little more color to what he shared, we're building a facility in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we had a multi-year site selection process. We hired a boutique firm out of Texas to assist us with finding the site. And through that process, we looked at a number of communities. There was obviously a lot of data behind it to identify the ones that made the most sense fiscally. But when we kind of got down and figured that part out, a number of people in my executive leadership team went out and visited, and we whittled it down. And so I went for the final, viewing, and I was absolutely blown away. It was like a box of chocolates. I mean, you did not know what you were going to get between city to city. I had so many preconceived notions about where I thought was the right choice for our organization. And it really showed me how critical the economic development individuals are and how that process goes, how critical it is to have business leaders that are called upon to recruit these entities to come to our community and our state. And because ultimately the community we chose, which was Tulsa, Oklahoma, it was last on my list. I thought, no, I don't want to go to Tulsa, Oklahoma. And so what did they do? I mean, they definitely had the best site, for what our needs were, and certainly had a great incentive package, and all that was great. But the focus on the middle market, it is great to get Mercedes and Honda, and of course, but we have got to think about these startups that we want to come here and start businesses, because they're going to ultimately grow and add jobs. We have to think about businesses, my size family businesses, that are continuing to grow in Brandville, that are going to bring a lot of jobs. I mean, day one, we're adding 80. Within the next few years, there'll be hundreds. And, these are the needle movers, and these are the jobs that there's a lot of jobs in our plant that are going to go to. I mean, in Oklahoma, they have similar challenges to the state of Alabama. I mean, they have the largest rate of incarceration for females in the United States. So we will have similar challenges with our workforce development, but a big piece of what they had, and their education system is very flawed. Their workforce development programming is off the charts. They have Tulsa Tech, which is adult, workforce development. They are going to support us when before our plant opens, because we don't want to pay people to learn how to drive forklifts in our plant. We want them to be ready for the day it opens. And so there's a lot of components there, and I think, in Alabama, we need to have a better focus on the middle market businesses. I think we need to have a much better focus on the startups and figure out ways to attract and recruit those. And to the extent any of the individuals in this room are called upon to provide assistance with those, I think your input and your collaboration and your friendship to these companies that are coming and looking in Alabama are critically important. So it was very insightful.
Right. Well, so if I'm not trying to make you talk when you want to talk, but what are some of the, you're on the BBA, the Birmingham Business Alliance. What are some of the things that we can do to help the BBA and other organizations you're involved in do some of these things to make Alabama more competitive?
Wow. So I definitely think if you're called upon as organizations come here, I think, I know what I could do is lean into the site selection group and these boutique firms who are offering sites for these organizations to make Birmingham more attractive and Alabama more attractive. I think that a lot of work needs to be done at the BBA to really figure out how we have more list of targets that are coming and even considering the state of Alabama. Unfortunately, there are a number of things at the state level politically that I think are detractors for our state, and that's very unfortunate. So to the extent anybody in this room has an opportunity to assist with those, I do think that they are detractors for businesses that are concerned with some of the hot button issues that are on the menu.
Okay, good.
Would you agree?
I agree completely. That's very bold, and I do agree with you.
I was trying to say that in a very nice way, but it's a real problem.
No, absolutely. So maybe we can, as business and community leaders, maybe we can, without getting too specific into what the issues are, just impart upon our statewide leaders the importance of making sure that we create an environment that is welcoming and friendly to new businesses moving to Alabama.
And businesses in general, whether they're new or just expanding, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I think there is some fear.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I ask you another question?
Absolutely, yeah. That's why we're here, yeah.
So what do you think are some of the things that we're doing well that are either statewide or locally here in the Birmingham community that we're doing well that's moving the needle forward?
I think everybody in this room is the testament to what we're doing well. This community, in my opinion, and Alabama at large, I mean, there are so many people that care so deeply and have such a place to actually affect change. I think there is somewhat of a disconnect. We have so many great organizations that are doing so much great work. How do we come together to really figure out what, to your point, what is the value proposition? How do we bring all of that back together? And I'd love that back to you, CT. What do you think? I mean, what do you think?
Well, I think we have some, not all, but some well-meaning political leaders, and I think that when you see cooperation between the private sector and the public sector, I think we can work together and make some things happen. Just some things that come to mind that I've been involved in: Rotary Trail, the Lyric Theater, Railroad Park. The baseball stadium. You look at all the developments going on downtown as a result of us. UAB, of course, UAB football, UAB. There's so many opportunities, I think, where the people in this room can have a positive impact in making those things move forward. And then you look at the private things that happen around it. And we've got a lot of employees that are, kind of young, cool, hip people, a lot cooler than me. And they like living downtown, and they have downtown options, and they can do that now. Those options didn't exist 15 years ago. So, would those things be there if we didn't have Railroad Park, we didn't have Rotary Trail? I think what Kiwanis has done with Vulcan, of course, we're Vulcan Value Partners. So we love seeing Vulcan lit up. But, those things really make a difference. Cumulatively, the community becomes a much more desirable place to live. And I'll throw one more out there, the Alabama Symphony Orchestra, is an amazing symphony, and there are a lot of the folks, particularly at UAB, who really enjoy it, and we want them to have that resource, that asset. It makes a better community.
And I'll add one more thing, and I hope everybody in this room knows we are hosting the World Games in 2021. This is put on by this is a big deal. Really big deal. And we have a lot of work to do to get ready for that. The world will be watching. NBC will be televising live for 2 weeks from Railroad Park. And are we all doing what we need to do to help make sure that Birmingham is portrayed in the best light? So I think a lot of questions need to be asked about the pre-work.
Right, absolutely.
And it's a huge opportunity.
Absolutely.
We have Oprah here that's going to ask us questions.
I see the signal for questions from the audience.
Y'all can keep talking. So, but I do have some questions for the audience, and I hope that we'll continue our conversation. So, 99% of Americans owe the majority of their wealth due to their jobs. And something that you talked about is paying your workers a $15.15 minimum wage, providing family health insurance. CT, you're in a different situation because all your workers are bought into your funds, and so they're all in with your value investing. So many people here would say it's good for everyone when people make money, when working people make money, because they have more to invest in the communities, to build assets so that maybe one day they can become investors and they can pay it forward to the next generation. But can you talk a little bit about the tension between capitalism, enlightened capitalism, and regulating better outcomes for workers? And so lots of places are passing a $15 minimum wage law. You're doing that because it makes sense for your business. And there's a tension there between what can business owners do and what's in the policy landscape.
That's a great question. Whoever asked that, thank you. You want to?
No, go ahead.
I'll just preface that by saying I'm a dyed-in-the-wool, red-blooded capitalist. I mean, I like making money. I really do. I like it. And I like for our clients to make money, and I like for our employees to make money, and I like for the community to make money. I think that there's this really almost false narrative going on right now that there's some kind of conflict between making money and being, therefore really, we're talking capitalism, being responsible as shareholders. I'm the largest shareholder in our company. How do I make sure, and I'm responsible to my family, I'm responsible to other shareholders. We have shareholders in this room. It's not up to me to take your money, your investment, and use it as a piggy bank to do things that, you might want to do instead. You might disagree with the things I'm doing. I should create as much wealth as possible for you so that you can then take that wealth and do what you think is right with it because it belongs to you. It doesn't belong to me. And so somehow there's this narrative that that's inconsistent with making sure, how do we do that? The way we do that is to make sure that we have the absolute best employees possible on earth because we're competing with everybody else on earth. And how do we do that? Well, we need to pay them really well. And we need to make sure that our benefits are the best. Our benefits are better than Google, they're better than Amazon. Those guys are sissies. We've got to pay them. We have the most generous maternity policy, I believe, in the United States. It rivals Sweden. We have the most generous paternity policy. Guess what? We get all the smart women because we take care of them. And we do it because it's right, but it's also great business. And they are grateful and they work harder. And we're kicking everybody's tails. Well, that's because, there's no conflict between taking care of your employees and investing in your community. Obviously, we're both up here because we believe in investing in the community. Well, you know what? We don't live on an island. And I talked about how much better Birmingham is, and I'm looking at so many faces who have made it better. It's almost embarrassing for me to be saying this up here because y'all have done it. But collectively, we've all made this city better, and that helps our business. It helps us attract better people, and that helps us create more resources that then feed back into the community. So there's absolutely no conflict whatsoever in my mind between maximizing shareholder value, maximizing profits, and doing the right thing, and making sure our customers are really, really happy, our investors. So, to me, it's just kind of common sense. I don't know why people are turning into this us versus them argument.
I would totally agree with what you said. I mean, we're in business to make money, but the way that you do that is by taking care of your people, and that is the right thing to do. It's a wheel.
So, Tricia, this question is for you. So, Alabama has a history of a lot of unskilled workers. Our economic history, the businesses that were here required a lot of hard work. The world has changed, and particularly the world has changed since the 2008 recession. And in your site selection process, you talked a bit about what Tulsa was going to do for you for workforce development. What are some other innovative things that you saw on how do we move people who have or had jobs that didn't require a high level of skill? How do we move them into today's skilled, knowledge-based, computer-based jobs that are out there?
So, workforce development is key. Having the resources and having the facilities to provide those services to individuals. We are on this journey of having one single source of truth and really investing in our IT infrastructure. My leadership team said we cannot put, be an IT company on our strategic plan. They're going to freak out. But, it's big data. We're selling by points of distribution daily. Millions and millions and millions of units a day. And we have to use that data to figure things out. And we have a very hard time finding the resources, whether they're programming, whether they're, analysts. It is very challenging. And so providing even very skilled technical resources and opportunities for folks that are smart to learn these things would be a real needle mover for us.
Do you have anything to add?
I for Tricia, that I completely agree. I would say, and I'll make a plug for our universities. we are hiring amazing kids who are coming out of Auburn, Alabama, and particularly who, we're not hiring them because they came out of Auburn, Alabama. We're hiring them because they can compete with anybody. And I think those schools are doing a fantastic job, and they're moving our state forward.
And one thing I want to point out is that we talk a lot about workforce development in terms of technical education and highly skilled, but what we might call blue-collar jobs. And the state still needs more people with bachelor's degrees than anything else. And so it's a both and. You need people to work for UCT, and I'm sure Daniel Coleman would love to get you some Birmingham Southern graduates. And you also need people who can work in an advanced manufacturing environment and in your C-suite. So I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't advocate for a full, robust definition of post-secondary education. But thinking about education and the value propositions, what are some of the value propositions that you look for in making an investment, CT? So as this question is specifically about your charitable investments.
Yeah, thank you. I think that for us, it all gets back to return on investment. We see a lot of causes that are, very well-meaning and people, are passionate about them. But if we can't see how the dollars that we invest have an outcome that improves significantly, from where things were, we only have so many resources. We have to allocate them appropriately, and we feel like if we can help 1,000 people by investing, X, and instead we take X and we only are able to help 100 people, it's better to help 1,000 than 100. And so that's how we make the decisions. And I just one more plug for something we think we've seen incredible return on investment is Sight Savers. I don't know how many people are familiar with that organization, but basically you're taking kids who will lose their vision if there's not an intervention. And you think about how productive their lives will be if they can retain their vision versus if they lose their vision. And the investment is pretty darn modest compared to the outcome. So, that's an example of where we see really high return on investment.
Thank you. So I've got two questions that are similar. So as business owners, how can you help youth become more involved in business and then be on the pathway to college and their career? And Tricia, you have talked about your experiences with the Birmingham Ed Foundation, and JW is here.
So we had a group out. We have begun an internship program. It's not just for kids coming through the Birmingham City Schools. It's for folks from Sanford, Birmingham Southern, and we have historically had those programs, and they have been so successful. Individuals. We have one lady that still works with us that was an intern, and she ended up going to Bentonville and was a buyer, for 8 years, and now she works with us, lives in Nashville, and to have somebody that was on the other side of the desk with one of our largest customers is a real asset. So, that stuff just pays itself forward as far as offering, new ways of looking at things, innovative ideas. It's a no-brainer, in my opinion.
And CT, you fund a lot of student work at the University of Alabama, right?
Yeah, we do, and we also have a high school intern program at Vulcan, and hopefully we're exposing those kids to what it's like to be around hardworking professional people, and that seems to be paying good dividends. And we have created an internship program that's pretty darn robust, and we did it for altruistic reasons, but it came back and it turned out that it's kind of like it's good karma. We ended up ultimately hiring some of these people, and they became amazing employees for us. We had no idea it was going to turn out like that, so we kind of created this pipeline of really wonderful people. Then they are appreciative even if they never come back and work for us, and and they tell their friends, hey, yeah, you want to check out Vulcan, and they just keep feeding us candidates, and it's turned into this really wonderful asset for our business, but we did it just to be altruistic. So, you know, I would encourage everybody in here, whether you want to do it to be altruistic or just to help your business, when you talk about return on investment, the payoff is enormous compared to the investment that you make.
We have a few high school students with us tonight, and one asked that they really, well, one said, I really like what you have to say. How can I be a part of it? So,
All right.
Job interview.
All right, so...
Now you're up on the stage.
Okay, so Shelley Thag, will you please stand up? Find her. See her? There she is. Shelley
you gotta
Thag.
take, you're at the right table.
Okay.
So, I want to thank CT and Tricia